In this situation, you're single, no family, no kids.
Ooh.
What crimes are you committing?
Bank robbery. Bank robbery.
Number one, I am robbing a bank.
What mask are we wearing? Theme.
Oh, I would see. I've thought about this enough to know that I don't want something over the top, goofy, like a clown mask.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Can
I want
throw a little something
more
out there?
sinister. Maybe something with a muted face.
In the movie, Baby, or Baby Driver, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
the guy says, "All right, we're wearing Michael Myers masks. So it's a fucking. You get the mask. I got the shotguns. You know, show up tomorrow. We'll be in the Malibu." And the guy shows up and breaks out the mask, and it's Mike Myers from fucking Austin Powers. He said, "What the fuck is that?" He said, "That's Mike Myers. That's him." I said, "Michael Myers."
Man, I'm supposed to rob dressed up like fat bastard. Like this is
They all have Austin Powers masks, robbing the fucking armored car and everything.
Point Break, they all did presidents, different ones. There was Dick,
like that.
Reagan, Dick is Nixon.
Mhm.
That's kind of fun. Yeah, I don't know exactly the kind of mask. I'd probably spend about half of my remaining time determining the mask. And then when that was decided, I'd pick a bank, and my goal would be like I'd want to rob multiple banks. And so I might like start even small and be like, can I just walk in and demand money?
I think armored trucks is the way to go, because I'm worried that the bank is like built to not be robbed. Not that an armored truck isn't as well.
Ready to die.
Dude.
Yeah, but two of them. They're right there. I see both of them. They don't know I'm here to get them. And in the bank, I got to deal with all these innocents, all these random like passersby. There's cameras everywhere. Maybe they got locking doors. They've got all sorts of sneaky alarms, and they don't have much money. If you ever gone to the bank to get like $30,000-$40,000 to like buy a thing, they're like, "Oh, you need 30,000 American dollars." It's a struggle for them to pull together the amount of money that you would expect from a bank robbery. But an armored
I know
truck,
a bank robber.
a couple $100,000.
Really?
You know a bank robber.
Yeah. And what you're saying, Kyle, is totally true. Coming from the mouth of a bank robber. So I hired this guy to work on my house a couple years ago, and he's crazy, very entertaining guy. And I'm like, this guy's fucking nuts. He's a little older. And he's jacked and just like all over the fucking place. I'm like, he probably maybe was on meth or something like that. I'm not sure. This guy's fucking just wild old redneck guy. And so he's talking and stuff, and he's got all these. He's bonded, licensed, contracted. He's like legit. He's got a good long track record of work. And I see some people talking shit about him on Facebook and stuff. But that's what always happens for like local contractors. People get upset, and I didn't do a background check. He was coming to like give me a bid, and I saw on Facebook someone was like, "You know, this guy robbed 19 banks, right? 19.
Sick.
This guy is he didn't hurt anybody. He didn't like murder anyone or anything like that. But he's a fucking bank robber. Like he's a thief." And I saw that like as he was coming. So I was like, "Oh, okay, this is a little weird." But he gave me a great bid that I could not turn down. Lo and behold, terrible work, did a terrible job. I had to have it all redone. So I learned my fucking lesson. There's a reason it was so cheap.
Right?
He robbed you.
Price was right. And he started off strong, but he started to kind of come apart. And the reason he came apart is because he had spent 10 years in the penitentiary, and he just got out a few months before. So he was like trying to get back up on his feet, and he was doing a good job. He was very professional, but his team abandoned him. I think he's like kind of weird with money. He just wasn't paying them. I think that's the real term there. But he told us how he robbed these banks, and he's totally open about it. So he's this big white guy with just bright white hair, huge guy too. He went to Austin. So he lived in like northern Texas. He would drive to Austin, and he would find those little small kind of in and out banks on the side of the street that have an ATM right next to them.
Mm-hmm.
And he would steal. He would put on a Carhartt in the middle of summer, use mascara to make his hair black, and speak Spanish and act like a Mexican guy. Go in, steal like $700, maybe $1,000 if he was lucky, because that's all they had. That's all they've got.
Not
Do
true.
it quickly. That's what you can get easily and quickly.
Yeah.
And then he would leave and get away with it. He did that 19 times. And the reason he got caught is because he went to the same bank multiple times, like a fucking idiot. And on his, is it this guy?
The bad hair bandit?
That's not him. No, that's not him.
Oh,
this was 10 years ago. This was in Southern Texas. This was in 10 years. This is, I guess, in Houston too, though.
Hey, I'm kind of famous, dude. I'm a bad hair bandit.
This guy is a little out of shape. The guy I'm talking about, dude, I want to say his name so bad. He's such a fucking legend. He'd be a great guest on the podcast, to be honest.
I'd like to. We talked to a jewel thief one time. That was a gas.
He was so bad,
dude. He'd be like, I'm on TRT. Do you know I'm on TRT? I have superhuman levels of testosterone. I'm 75 years old.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sounds cool.
So interesting. And he felt bad about it. Obviously, he was on meth. I think he said that he was like out of his mind at the time, obviously. And he said he remembers driving back home and hearing on the radio that they knew who this guy was, who was robbing all these banks in Austin. And he was like, and he just waited at his house and they came and busted him.
Oh.
So there's a separate bad hair bandit?
There's multiple.
I always hear there's no cash at banks, right? Like, oh, you silly heads, you think there's a bunch of cash at banks. The thing is, twice I've pulled cash out of banks because I was buying motorcycles. And 6,000 and 9,000. The 9,000 guy wasn't very sophisticated. And, so I do the thing at the bank because they can notarize the title right there. And I ask him, do you want cash or a cashier's check? And he looks at me like a cashier's check is a scam. Like, I don't think he understands that these are like a check guaranteed by the bank. And he's like, yeah, you better make it cash. Like he's on to my shenanigans. And the bank didn't blink. They just counted out $9,000 and they handed it to him. So it led me to believe that $9,000 wasn't like a weird thing for them. Yeah.
Did they have to go in the back and get the money?
I think so.
Yeah. So they in the vault, they'll definitely have, I don't know how much it is, but I know I got 25 out to buy a car one time, and I think I got
25,000?
Yeah.
In cash.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they went in the back it was a minute or two. They had to go back there and get it. And I was like annoyed it took so long. But they came out with it. They had 25 grand. And then one time I got maybe 70, 80 grand out and I played in it.
In cash.
Yeah.
Shut up, dumbass.
And they didn't. And they were like, I asked them, I was like, hey, I'd like to get $75,000 out cash. And I was like, I'm bringing it back though. I was like, I'm going to take some pictures. I made it sound like I wasn't a douchebag. That's crazy. They're like, come back tomorrow. And the next day they had 75,000, but they didn't have 75 for me that day. Or they made it seem like it'd be a real annoyance to come up with 75 today. Like they'd have to call somebody for permission.
My assumption is that it's FDIC insured amounts, which would be 200 grand, 250 per branch.
Yeah, that makes sense. That maybe they got $250,000 back there. But I don't know. These are little banks too. I'm talking about my little bank in Livonia, and there's only like 3 of those. It's like a chain of 3. I think the armored truck thing is the way, especially if you could be super sophisticated about it, right? You could know the routes and you could know what days were big days and what's the end of their route, right? You don't want to hit them after they've been to one bank. You want to hit them after they've been to 5. And maybe one bank on one special day. Maybe you know something special about that bank. That today that bank has way too much money because a football player brought his promo cash in and dumped it on them, and they're very nervous because they're holding $500,000 of promo cash, and they want to get it back to the reserve or whatever, and it's a big deal. Like, that's the day you hit the fucking armored car. But I don't want to go into a building. I don't. The
thing about 1 versus 5 made me realize we're on the opposite ends. I always assumed those things were delivering cash, and you made it seem like they were gathering cash.
They're doing both. They do both, but at they definitely pick up. They do both. But in my scenario, the bank has too much cash on its hands, and it wants that cash to get back to the reserve so that they're not responsible for it in some sort of weird. Because unless you're just a day-to-day bank robber, I'd want to do this one time, right? Like, I don't want to do this every weekend.
Well, we're at the end of our lives. We're going to do it as many times as we possibly can before we die.
It's just for the thrill. We're burning the money.
Even so,
we're taking pictures with it like douchebags.
We're fixing inflation.
We're fixing inflation.
We're burning it on Facebook.
That would be so shitty if you were like, I've only got 6 to 36 months to live. Immediately arrested for robbing a bank. Like, it's just like now you're. You
wouldn't want to go down. I mean, you wouldn't want to take you alive. You know what I mean? If we're being honest, right? Like if you're dying, like you don't go to jail at the end of this ride.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to bring a
blaze of glory, dude,
or anything. Like, I'm not going to hurt anybody on my way out.
You don't have to. You know, you've seen police activity. If you run at them with a paint scraper, they'll take you out, bro. They'll hit you with 15 AR-15s.
You get a pineapple?
I'll bring a very intimidating looking pug, the kind of dogs that cops just love to shoot.
Yeah, one of these.
Yes, a little pup like.
Does that dog ever do the thing I see pugs do on the internet where they just go? Ah!
Mine don't have that gene, whatever that is.
No, but they've got a lot of genes.
Yeah, they got a few extra. But the mine bark. They don't scream for some. I don't know. I've never seen that in real life, but I have heard it before. And some of them go like that.
Yeah, they're congested. They're all so stuffed up.
Poor guy.